So first of all, we're going to load up the palette. And as you can see, we have all of the colors in our system with its dimensional and watermark effect equivalent. Now I'm going to go onto my layers, and I'm not going to actually design in real time because that would take too long. I'm going to show you how we apply the colors to a design. So first of all, I'm going to have a background, and the background I'm just going to select. I'm going to go to my graphic styles, pick a color. So in this instance, I'm choosing number 120, which is a blue. Now, if you're seeing the screen in a grayish color, it's because you haven't got your overprint switched on. So always have your overprint preview switched on because we're using overprints of spot colors. Now from there, I'm going to go into my design again, and I'm going to add some lightning flashes. So I've just created these out of vector and dropped them onto my design. I actually want to edit those and change the color into a dimensional effect. So I'm going to go to the object, clipping mask, edit contents. I'm going to go onto my graphic style, and the background color was number 120. So the effect needs to be 120 dimensional effect. So now doing that, what it's doing is it's going to create an instant white mask behind the back of this. We're actually printing this onto a metallized material. Now, throughout the whole of this tutorial, you'll see that we never create a white ink mask. And this means that when you design with our system, it becomes very quick and very simple. Next, I'm going to add a white panel. So this is just document white. We can look in our document here. You see it's 000. From there, we're going to then make, we're doing this for an energy drinks poster. So we're going to have a drinks can. So first of all, I'm going to have my soda can. And again, I'm not showing you how to design this, but let me just show you on the separations. The reason I'm going to show you this way is because we're going to actually explain how to do two different types of energy drink can. This first one has a solid metallic behind the back. So that silver area would be where the silver substrate shows through. And all these white areas is where the white ink mask is going to be. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way for this energy drinks can is because we're printing this onto a large format flatbed device. It's a UV flatbed printing system. Now, UV devices don't like screening white ink. White ink is designed to print as a solid on a UV flatbed machine. So you need to take this into account when you're designing with your files. But if you were to do a screen, then you might not print 100% correctly. And I'm going to show you a different type of can after I finish this one. So just moving on, we're going to add lightning strikes. Again, this is just white out lightning attached across the top of the drinks can. And then we're going to add our drinks branding. In this case, it's the Buzz energy drink. Now, the Buzz elements, so the text and the actual bumblebee, they're all CMYK. Leave the product focal point in CMYK. Put the metallic behind the back, and it's going to make the product items stand off the shelf. So it's just a way of being able to design correctly with metallics. Many people think putting metallics into the product will make it shine, but unless you have light shining on that item, it will always look dull. So put the metallic in the background, golden rule. Okay, from there, we're going to add some text, and this is just black text, and again, the branding to match the actual design. We're going to add in a discount coupon or logo. Now this time, I'm going to pick up that black element, and I'm going to make it ColorLogic spot color. The spot color means it's going to be the ColorLogic silver effect. Where's the silver substrate coming through? So this is silver. I'm going to change that text to black and put my overprint on. Next, I'm going to add in the name of the store. This is a 24/7 store where you can actually buy the product. So this is going to be an in-store promotional poster. Next, we're going to add in a variable data field. So this will be an instructional tag. You do this through your variable data software. And this would, for example, say variable data from database number 1 as an example. And then we're going to add in another database field down at the bottom, which is offer ends. And this is going to come from the variable data field database number 2. So these two elements here and here, which are currently in black, we're going to make metallic. So we're going to change this variable data field. We're going to make it gold. So we can go back to our graphic style palette. Let's scroll up and find a gold, number 17 as an example. Click and apply that color. And again, for this one as well, let's make that one metallic. So we'd have this here, we're going to actually specify to be the name of the store. So it'll be 24/7 Cincinnati, for example. And at the bottom here, there'll be a variable date of when this promotion ends. So going back onto my my layers, just to show you how this will be in simulation. This top one here, the store name, we're going to change that. It would appear in our database as Houston, and then maybe there'll be one for Las Vegas, and one for New York, and one for Cincinnati. So this field can change in metallic colored foil, which is unique to the ColorLogic system. That is because for every time you change a colored foil area on a design when printing onto a metallic substrate, the white ink mask needs to be manually created. But because we never make a white ink mask in our system, because of the unique way we design our palettes, this can be fully automated at the RIP level as you're processing the file, which means that you could have 250 different stores, each variable printing. And it's just a quick, simple way of being able to design with our system. Again, same thing at the bottom of the design, offer ends. We're going to change that variable data field. It might be offer ends in March. And then another store might have theirs going on until February. So each one could change depending on when you're rolling out the promotion. You might do a stage promotion going across the states, for example, starting off on the East Coast, ending off on the West Coast, and stagger your release across the promotional range. Okay, so there we have a very simple, easy way to be able to add the effects in. Now, earlier on, I mentioned about printing with this design of the can, and I used a solid substrate coming through. And that was always because we're printing onto a UV flatbed device. But let's think, maybe we printed this on an like a digital press. And if it was a digital press, the inks work very different to UV machines. In fact, the inks on a digital press can be screened just like a normal ink, which means we can have a more photorealistic ink can. So just to show you that, I'm going to turn off that can here. I'm going to put on a slightly different can. Now, what I want to show you, I'm going to go to my separation preview, and I want you to look at the screening that I put into this can. So you can see we've got light and shade. You know, the darkest areas of silver is where the solid silver substrate comes through, and then all these white areas, these screens, will be screens of white. So remember, when you're printing with the system, you've got to take into account the machine that's going to print your design. If the ink cannot do a screen, you're going to get a harder edge on your design, which is why for this particular branded product, I turned and made it as a solid. And I'm actually increasing the darkness through some shading of black. So what we try and educate people is don't just think, click and apply the colors. That's easy. You've got to think about how you're printing, where it's going to be displayed, how you're going to try and promote this to your customers. Okay, so next we're going to go into the FX viewer and visualize this file. And then we'll also take this into the Esko Visualizer to show how we can change substrates around as well. So let's do this next. Let's go into FX Viewer. In the next part of this tutorial, we're going to show how our artwork that we created in Illustrator can then be visualized using the FX Viewer. So I save my artwork as a PDF file. I take that PDF file and drag and drop onto the FX Viewer, which will launch our proprietary software for visualizing the effects on your screen before you go to print. Now, this is a great way to be able to see if you've done your design right and make sure that you're getting the right effects. And what's happening in the background, as I mentioned in a few other tutorials, is the RIP that's being processed. And it's designed to be able to take a PDF file and render it into our 3D virtual system. So to show you how this works, we can go all the way around this room if we so wish. We have a light source coming in based on a spherical light condition. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to visualize printing onto foil. And then I can move and rotate my file around and see what my design would look like when printed onto foil substrate. Notice where we have the variable data fields in gold in this instance, we have gold foil. The silver can become silver foil. And look at all those little lightning flashes. They go from lighter to darker and gives contrast to my design. Really makes it look like it's coming alive. Notice how we also always leave branded items like spot colors or company branding in CMYK. We very rarely would touch a branded colored design. That doesn't mean you can't, but we would recommend to leave it as it is. Okay, so from there, if you wanted to show a file to your customer, you could use something like Snaps Pro to record your screen, or you could use QuickTime, which will also do recording of your computer screen free of charge. For customers that have the Esko Studio Visualizer, you can visualize color logic effects very simply. All we have to do is drag the PDF file you created using the color logic system, drag it onto the Esko Studio Visualizer. This will then launch the Visualizer application program, and upon the auto build option screen that comes up, just click on continue after specifying your preferred format. So I can specify resolution, and I'll leave everything else as is. That's now going to take the file and interrogate the PDF file and split it out into each of the layers. For example, there will be a layer for the substrate, for color inks, the color logic separation, and any other things that it finds in the design. So here, you see it's got the color logic separation. Automatically, it's mapping that to the color logic metallic silver ink. But in this instance, we're actually going to print this onto a metallic substrate using the white ink and silver substrate. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click up here, which is the auto refresh. I'm going to switch that off because every time you make a change, it then refresh automatically. By switching this off, I can do multiple tasks and then apply those effects to my PDF file. So I'm going to take that and bring it below the forecolor because we need to print the color logic effect first and then the color inks on the top. I'm going to double click and I'm going to take it to the process and spot colors, make it opaque white. Click on finish, and then the important thing is to invert that separation. Now we can then update from there. For now, we're still printing this onto a default paper. We need to change that to metallized. So again, I go into here and turning off the default substrate, go into standard materials, foil board, click on finish, and I'm going to change the environment that I'm looking at. So I need some reflectivity to show my reflections. So I'm going to go to Office, and I'm going to click on Update. And we can now see how we have that design showing the metallic substrate, as we did previously using the FX Viewer. Now, the benefits of using the Esko Studio Visualizer is that you can do three-dimensional mockups. Obviously, we don't need to do a 3D mockup in here because this is a poster. But what I am going to do is I'm going to change the substrate to a rainbow. So I'm actually going to add in a new layer. I'm going to use the Kerr's reflective materials. So I'm going to do in a laser select, just like a rainbow. Click on finish. I'm not going to use the artwork. I'm just going to use it as a solid. I'm going to update. Now, when I move it, you'll see there's a rainbow color coming through. So we can actually use the Esko product to simulate looking at designs on a rainbow material. We could also add in varnish plates. And let's just try and do this. Let's add in a new layer. I'm going to do this through the varnish. I'm going to do a gloss varnish. I'm going to use my artwork this time just to show you what we can do. I'm going to actually simulate this using the color logic separation. So maybe putting a varnish over everything that was metallic. I click on apply. Now one thing I can also do is specify the thickness of the varnish. So maybe I want it to be a nice deep thick varnish. And everything that is going to be, you can see there, that little varnish there. Let's just zoom in so you can see in greater detail. So the Esko product can be used to show most types of post-finishing techniques, from varnishing, it could be embossing, you could put in a spot Pantone color, change the substrate, many different things. In fact, if you look at the list, you'll see it's very comprehensive with most types of color systems and post-finishing techniques. Now, we could, as I mentioned, put an emboss on there. So let's just try that with an emboss. I'm just doing a detailed emboss. Click on finish, apply that, and then it'll emboss all those areas. So very quickly, very easy, we can use the Esko Studio Visualizer to visualize color logic effects using different post-finishing techniques, substrates, inks, and coatings.